Hello to my patrons and the people who could wait a year. It's Play the Barn Dance in its entirety. That's right, it's become an annual thing now to take a public domain work and play it in its entirety on my show as soon as it enters the public domain. Let me get the thumbnail in there. I hope you can see as much Disney merch as possible that I'm wearing, because we're sticking it to the mouse. Let me do my best Mickey here. All right. Yeah, lots to get to, lots to talk about. Playing the barn dance in its entirety in this episode. We did Steamboat Willie last year. That one was a little more fun because it dropped directly on the day it went public domain. Sadly, Barn Dance is already public domain here in time and wherever you're watching it, unless they've unpublic domained it. Can they do that? I don't know, but let's get into the meat of the show here with an opening line. So there's no easy way to bring this up. The Christmas special is gone, and Dracula's alive. He's in the future, but he's alive. I could talk about that for an hour today, but it's a sponsored topic, so I'm just going to talk about the topic. If you want to hear about all that nonsense, please check out the bonus episode. Oh, and also, the following podcast episode was not produced, endorsed, licensed, or approved by the Walt Disney Company. And this is where the theme song goes. Just theme songing away right here. Okay. I didn't think to get water, and that was a mistake. You're listening to Fix My Car Cast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy, and this is episode 157. Comedian and musician Keith Hebert will join us after he's learned to point at everything with two fingers, just like Walt Disney used to. But first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level and also get bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get yourself some merch. You know what company has been selling too much merch? Well, I won't say, but they got a mouse and they're doing just fine. So maybe buy some of my merch because I need your money way more than that rodent. Where was I? Sorry, everything's different. We're going into the new year with all kinds of new stuff. We have a new donor this week. Thank you, Joel, for donating $50. Thank you so much, Joel. The total raised for paying off my car repair debt is now $2,442. Hey, that's a palindrome. Cool. Also, when we get to $3,000, it unlocks an automatic show gimmick, which is I will record an episode at sea as soon as I'm medically declared as seaworthy. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $10,000? Send it the way of Muppet Vision 3D. Hey, do you like the theme song? No? Well, if you make a donation of $50 or more, in addition to picking an episode topic, you get to change one thing about the theme song forever, unless somebody else changes it back. This week, Joel paid me to write a eulogy song about Cathalak the lake monster for harpsichord. So I did, but it doesn't stop there. Want me to add a choir of childlike voices singing about how the planet Earth is tiny, actually? I'll do it, $50. Also, if you would like to own the painting I made in episode 118, I'll be giving it away to the next person who donates $100 or more. That's right, own a piece of Fix My Car Cast history while you still can. If you'd like to see the painting before you buy it, it can be viewed in the raw video version of episode 118 over on Patreon. Link in the description. And yeah, the painting is here in the room with me. Why wouldn't it be? We have a new patron this week. Thank you, Allie, for becoming a Bear Claw bystander. Thank you so much, Allie. I hope you enjoy all the sweet, sweet perks that come with your membership, which is really just voting in gimmick polls, but that is a powerful perk. Welcome to shaping the future of Fix My Car Cast. Now it's time for a topic suggestion. I'll suggest topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly, I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is Luigi. Want to know more? Donate today. Checking in on the best city in the world based on which city listened to the last episode the most, and we've got us another singles night tie. Ties are broken by whichever city listened to the most episodes, and our big winner is Portland, Maine. Congratulations, Portland, Maine. Let it be known that your Dopey Drive, Oswald Way, and Zorro parking structure are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I looked back on Fix My Car Cast in 2024. While year. You can see video of all the raw footage, plus a little extra, over on Patreon. Also, head over to Patreon for a bonus episode where I share 2 unfinished songs. I was kind of in a rush, so I just grabbed what I had in the old folder and went, I think they're good, check them out. Okay, let's talk next week's gimmick poll. These are your choices for next week's episode gimmick. They are: go live on Instagram, take down my Christmas tree, do it like a sleazy lawyer ad, and our returning gimmick, put ice cubes in my pants. Let's review. That's number 1, go live on Instagram. That's right. I'll open up my Instagram while I'm recording the show, and anybody who wants to send a message or jump in and say hi, they can do that. I won't reveal when I'm going live. It'll just happen. Be there or be square. Number 2, take down my Christmas tree. Yeah, that's right. We're about 2 weeks away from Christmas now. Time to take that sucker down, right? And by the way, if that one gets a vote but doesn't win, I vow I will not take my Christmas tree down. That's right. Yeah, we're reverse Unoing the gimmicks now. Number 3, do it like a sleazy lawyer ad. I mean, we've all seen those, and I, for one, could not be more excited to do it like a sleazy lawyer ad. And our returning gimmick number 4, put ice cubes in my pants. Enough said. I'm gonna put ice cubes in my pants. You know what? Let me clarify that I will be wearing them at the time. I feel like some people are gonna be buttholes about that. But you won't see my butthole, because I'll be wearing pants at the time. Pants with ice cubes in them, if it wins. Remember that any gimmick that gets just a single vote is eligible for a second chance in 6 weeks. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, January 9th at noon Eastern America time. All right, time for today's gimmick, which is play the film The Barn Dance in its entirety. Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way, in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the Gimmick Zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. Today's topic comes to us from Joel for $50, and I have been asked to talk about why I think that some people don't care for movies as a medium. Okay, let's begin. Let's get into it, friends. I am really excited about this topic. Now, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you probably know that the more I get paid, the more I invest in the topic. So I want to talk about that right up front, because I read and reread the way Joel asked the question, and it was specifically why I think that some people don't care for movies as a medium. So, it's interesting to me that when I get a $50 donation, I really want to put some effort into it. My average donation is usually in like the 10 to 20 range, so a 50 is like, whoa, let's really go all out. So, I considered handling this like I would a movie review or some other fact-finding mission research topic. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. As I started doing my research, there wasn't a lot, because I feel like this truly is a topic of opinion. Art is subjective, which is an objective truth. Isn't that interesting? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Go football a gun or whatever. But anyway, so I was initially thinking, hey, that's a lot of money. I owe it to Joel to really craft this like intense thesis. But, and this is 100% true, I then thought, well, it's why I think that some people don't care for movies. So that means I'm gonna put passion in this. I'm gonna inject myself into this. This is why I think people don't like movies. And to be completely honest, skill issue. No, I'm just kidding. I will say, I meditated on this though. Like I was like, that's a lot of money. I gotta give this some oomph. So I did like really sit and think. I did a couple of hours of just like meditating on it, which don't get me wrong. I know that sounds like telling your boss, hey, I didn't write that paper, but I meditated on what would be in the paper. But truly, 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 that is what I did because I was like, okay, I want to do this right. This is a matter of opinion. So I did look into why people do and don't like things. It was fascinating stuff to read. But again, I don't know if it's relevant. And also, I want a disclaimer up front that like, I'm not a medical professional in any sense. So, you know, please don't take anything I say about like psychology or the way humans are wired as any fact whatsoever. But yeah, it's interesting, and it sent me down a lot of thought pathways. Oh man. I was about to say I've brought this up on the show, but I don't think I have actually. I think I brought this up on my YouTube show, Hell of Thrones, a show where I watched all of Game of Thrones in a week to make rent. It worked. Go check it out. It's a fun watch, if I do say so myself. Unlike Game of Thrones, which I did not find to be a fun watch. Spoilers. But anyway, so like I really wanted to dive into like everything I could think about preference, and something that I mentioned on Hell of Thrones that I also am going to mention right now. David Mitchell, the comedian, has a great bit on YouTube. Of course, now I have to remember what the title of that one installment is, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. Wow, I was paid $50 to forget what I'm talking about. But no, so David Mitchell talks about how if someone likes a food that you don't judge them. But if they like a book that you do judge them. But secretly you also judge them for not liking that food or liking that food or whatever opinion of theirs differs from yours. You tend to secretly blame them for both. And I just find that fascinating because I feel like, again, this is why do I think some people don't enjoy movies? And there's gonna be some bias there. Like, the bias is the way I live my life, the way I find my values, the way I amuse myself, the way I entertain myself, the way I feel about how different art forms reflect our society, how they speak to us, how they help us process things, how they help us emote. You know, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm afraid to say anything that someone is gonna take definitively as like, Billy, that's not cool. That's not. But like, I don't know. I am a little baffled when people don't like movies. There are other things like that. This is not on topic whatsoever, but it'll always fascinate me. I remember in elementary school. I want to say this was like first grade, I think, the teacher once had a roundtable discussion about like, what's something you don't like that everyone else seems to like? And someone jokingly said, what, like ice cream? And someone in the back of the room was like, oh, I'll take that one. I don't like ice cream. And I remember like the hush that fell over the crowd because you just told a room full of children you don't like ice cream. What's wrong with you? And like, that was the reaction we all had. What's wrong with you? Or we even had like a feeling of like, you know, not just what's wrong with you, but like, I feel bad for you. Why don't you like this? This is a thing everyone's supposed to like. And the reason I bring that up is that is how I feel about movies. That is a thing everyone's supposed to like. How could you not? And that, again, I'm bringing up everything that came to me when I meditated. And by the way, I just want to say that meditated is not finger quotes for got high. Genuinely, truly, soberly, I made it my mission to like, okay, let's focus our thoughts. And I went back to that day when that girl said, I don't like ice cream. And like, and I remember, and it's so funny because I feel like it is a microcosm of what we're talking about today. Is the fact that everyone instantly had to rush to, but like there's all kinds of things that if somebody said they don't like it, you'd be like, yeah, I get that. I don't like surfing. Oh, okay. Like, you know, I don't like some really obscure music genre. I don't like garage step. Oh, okay, I don't even know what that is, but let me hear some. Okay, yeah, I don't like that. Like, it's wild that some things are more societally acceptable as being unliked than other things. You know, I have a classic one, and there's a whole bonus episode about it. Fuck if I can remember the number of it, but if I remember, I'll let you know. There's an entire bonus episode where I talk about something that damn near every human being I've ever met likes, and I've never liked. You paid me $50, so I'll tell you what it is. I was very close to like, no, that'll get them. That'll get them in the Patreon. Pets, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I love animals. I never want a pet, which is two distinct different things. This is a real You Like Boats But Not the Ocean, another fine episode of this podcast. But anyway, yeah, we all have that like one thing, and I'll fully admit, this also came up in the meditation. You may not enjoy movies as a medium due partially to like your own brain chemistry, your own wiring. I'm hesitant to say like, you know, disorder, and I'm not saying if you don't like movies you have a disorder, but I'm saying it is possible to have a disorder that makes it difficult to enjoy the thing that other people enjoy. I'll tell you right now, I'm you know 99%. I've only got a diagnosis for one, but I have anxiety. And I'm very, 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 very convinced that it is because of autism. And because of that, when a pet is in my space, especially if I'm trying to focus on something else, it is just like, it's the same as like, you know, how bright lights can be for some autistic people. Thankfully, that one is not a struggle for me, but pets are very much a struggle for me. So like, some people may not like movies just because there's something about them, like, you know, epilepsy. I don't think, and here's the thing, I didn't want to talk about like epilepsy, or you may not find them enjoyable if there's some aspect of them that you can't deal with. Sitting for long periods of time, focus, you know, optic or auditory disabilities, like all kinds of things could make it, you know, not as enjoyable an experience. There's also the content. I know a lot of people who don't like being faced with something visually. As in, if content that disturbed them were in a book, it would be easier to just close it and put it down, versus when you're in a movie theater, there's a sense of being kind of trapped there, you know, and like, you know, and it's considered rude, like, you know, or just stopping a movie or whatever. You know, all the discussion of trigger warnings, I think, is very relevant to this. So I can definitely see why someone would not enjoy movies, because being surprised by that content, you know, be it, you know, violent or sexual or politically against something, like, I can see that as well, like not enjoying the feeling of like, you know, because it's a communal thing. You watch movies with other people typically, and you react to them with other people watching. You usually read a book alone, or you listen to music in your headphones, but like with a movie, people are there seeing whether you like it or not in real time. That could be stressful, so I can see that being a reason why people don't enjoy, you know, the medium of movies. Like, you just wanted to have a fun time with your family, and now you're looking smack dab right into somebody's... Nipples. Or their butthole. And that's the kind of thing that can ruin Christmas out with the fam. So I absolutely get it that it is, movies are a very awkward experience as far as, other art forms go. I mean, I've been, I struggle with a lot of music genres. Certain TV shows don't really do it for me. And I really struggle with books. And so, having a think on this, having a little meditate, I thought about, okay, well, your question specifically was movies as a medium. And as I meditated on this, something else hit me. Okay, so movies, pretty popular, people would say. Same with ice cream, same with music. People seem to like these things. Pets, got to throw that in there. Again, animals. I love animals. Don't like them in my space. So those are all things that I think people could agree are pretty popular. But here's something fascinating. Of all those things, pets, ice cream, music, movies are the least popular. And here's why. If you're talking about a percentage of every human who's ever lived, most people don't like movies because most people ain't never seen a movie. They're a fairly recent invention, which leads me to another point, because I totally forgot. I have movies in terms of something that's really popular that I don't like, that is an art form, and I think it's specifically how that entertainment is delivered, and that is video games. I'm not much of a gamer, which is also the title of an episode of this podcast. Yeah, I play very few games. Most of the games I play are either like an electronic version of a board game, or they're sandbox games where you can just like explore for a bit or mess around with your friends. I like puzzle games, though I do hit a point where I'm just like, no thanks, I'm done with this. But I will say this. Dara Ó Briain, is that the comedian? I didn't mean to paraphrase Dara Ó Briain. I think this is a Dara Ó Briain. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Sorry. This was not something that came up during the meditation. This is something that hit the back of my brain just now. I believe it's Dara Ó Briain who has the bit about video games are the only medium where you cannot continue until you have proven that you're good enough. I don't want to get a laugh with somebody else's bit, but I'll simply say that I don't actually think that's true. I think there are several art forms where you don't get the fullness of the experience if you don't achieve certain things, such as finishing the damn movie. I'm sorry, but if you don't finish the movie, you have nothing to say. I struggle with video games. There's a million things you have to do to move on in a video game. In a movie, you gotta not move for 2 hours. You did it. And again, I already covered not moving for 2 hours may be the reason some people don't like movies, but take that long look at history. Of those things, which came first, pets or ice cream? I feel like pets. We must have domesticated wolves before. I don't know. That's a fun one. Sponsor an episode about that. Which came first, pets or ice cream? I would love to research that topic for a small amount of money. But I realize I'm probably getting away from the thing we're talking about here. Stories. If I say, out of all the humans who have ever lived, what percentage like movies? Astronomically small. What percentage like stories? Everyone loves stories. And I don't want to say everyone. As a matter of fact, let me know if you don't like stories. I'm curious how you feel about this podcast. But stories are so vital to the human experience. We are constantly trying to make sense of the world, and we invent science and religion and art to say, what the fuck is going on here? Here's how I feel. Do you feel this way? And that brings us to another thing, subtext. So many movies are about subtext, but I'll say this, so many stories are about subtext. Same with books, video games, you name it. The subtext is there, and I feel like that is also a part of it. Now, I know up front I made a joke about skill issue. People don't like movies because they're bad at watching movies. That was a joke, but I will say, I have sometimes talked movies with people that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm not going to talk this in depth about this movie with you because I don't think you watch movies the way that I do. And that's fine. And there's no right or wrong way to watch a movie. I mean, to a point, I wouldn't, put it on in the next room and walk away. Though if you're a dad, feel free to come back and just stand there for a bit. But yeah, I find it interesting that like we do crave stories, and I think movies are the perfect format for storytelling for me. I feel like it's a good like I will actually say I know a lot of people who don't like movies because of their attention span. I actually like movies because of my short attention span. I can usually do a movie way more easily than I can do a show. A movie is all right. From here to here, this is the timeline. 2 hours, or in the glory days, 90 minutes. Or some of you like your 6-hour whatevers. Fine. But on average, we're looking at 2 hours. The movie says, hey, before here, none of this existed. After here, there's a good chance none of this exists, but maybe we're setting up a sequel. So like that's it. Boom, boom, boom. There's your story. There it is right there. 2 hours. I like that. I know that when I sit down by 2 hours later, I don't have to remember a fucking thing. I feel whatever I feel. I think whatever I think. But I don't have to remember any of that stuff. TV, forget about it. Like, it's why I like Monster of the Week television. Is because it's like, fucking hell, I gotta remember what these 64 factions all care about. And then I gotta stop, go live my life for a week, and then pick it back up. Fuck that. Like, I like television, but like that I struggle with. Whereas a movie is just like, boom, here's 6 people. 2 of them want this, 2 of them want that. These ones are just funny. And 2 hours later, somebody will get something they want, somebody else won't, and then you get to think about it on the drive home. That's pretty bitchin'. That's the way I like my stories. That said, like story songs, I don't listen to a lot of music with lyrics, and oftentimes when I do, I tend to enjoy it either being like nonsense, or I like it to be a story. Oh man, Dolly Parton's "The Bridge." Out of nowhere, that just hit me. That also did not come to me during the... but man, I think I've mentioned that on this show before. If you have not listened to Dolly Parton's "The Bridge," don't look up a thing. Just find it, hit play. 3 minutes later, you will be a different person. Anyway, so yeah, it's like I love stories. I love stories. I love storytelling. But yeah, books also. It's very rare to finish a book in just 2 hours, especially a narrative one. So, again, I like books, but I have trouble keeping everything in my head sometimes. When I read a book, I make a movie, and I've seen articles about this phenomenon of like some people when they read a book, they have to cast all of the characters. I do that. Guilty as charged. I just pick up a book and I go, okay, that's Samuel L. Jackson. Okay, that's Natasha Lyonne. Like as I'm reading, I'm just like, okay, doesn't matter the setting. It's a Western, the future. Don't care. I have to cast the book as I go. And by the way, I forget who I cast once I'm done reading. Like, I'm like, okay, production's over. Everybody go home. But you didn't ask about that, Joel. So let me get back on track here. Okay, why I think some people don't care for movies as a medium. As a medium. I am very curious if there's someone out there who doesn't like art. Like literally all art. Anything that could be considered art. There's gotta be someone out there like that, right? Right? There has to be, right? There have to be people that don't like any art form whatsoever. Any art. And I have nothing further to say about this other than weird, huh? Maybe I meditated for a little too long. But another place I wanted to go with this is, I don't know if me saying why I love a medium is breaking the spirit of this question here. But another thing I love about movies is the way they are made is fascinating to me. Like, if you want to sing a song, pick up an instrument. If you want to write a book, get a pen. Video games, probably more complex than films. And maybe why I don't relate to them. I love seeing an amazing special effects or visual effects shot in a movie and sitting there trying to figure out like how it's done. But I realized that applies to another art form, magic. When you see someone do stage magic, people watch it in different ways. Some people want to figure out how the trick is done, and some people are just like, whoa, cool. So I feel like of the people that watch movies, I feel like both of those types exist. I've been watching a movie where like I'll realize, oh, that was a practical effect. They did that in camera, and I have no idea how they did it. And I'll start going, wait a minute, holy shit! And this is not a brag. As I started down this road, I was like, this sounds like a brag. But like, I'll just suddenly say, holy shit! And my friends will be like, what? And I'll be like, how did they do that? How did the shadow, the reflection, how did they, there's no water there. How did they, and they'll be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And that is another thing that makes me realize, oh yeah, like not everybody thinks of this stuff. Like, I was like that once when I was but a small child. This is embarrassing. I thought that they really shrank the kids in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Spoilers, they didn't. But like, that is burned in my brain whenever I'm talking movies and love of movies and how it came up. I always have to come back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Two important distinctions. Number one, first movie I ever saw in the theater. By the way, that might be another reason people don't like movies. Theater versus home, I'll get into that, but we're down a different road right now. And number two, it was the first movie I ever saw behind the scenes footage of. Now, you don't ever have to watch that stuff to love movies, but I feel like doing that will make you love movies more. I don't know though. I genuinely don't. If you're someone who already doesn't enjoy watching movies, then you're probably not going to be like, wait a minute, they used twins? Like they did the liquid metal. How? Like, I don't know if that stuff will appeal to you if you don't even care about the plot of the thing to begin with. That is one thing I love about movies. I'll tell you one thing I don't love is the cost. Almost any other art form is cheaper, except maybe video games again. Or if there's some weird performance artist who goes to space or something. But yeah, like finding out about that stuff, realizing that they built a giant screw rather than actually shrinking children, which yes, I did think when I was 6. I thought they actually shrank those kids. I was like, now I'm smart enough to know that they're actors. I know that that's not his actual kids, but they did shrink them. Like, I'm smart enough to know that the DeLorean can't travel through time, but it really does, like, have a bunch of fucking electricity crackles shooting off of it. Like, I had no idea what special effects were. I was like, I just was like, yeah, they shrank those kids. They shrank those kids. Yeah, I think that's another thing that'll make your love of movies go really deep, is also getting into how they're made. And again, none of this may be fascinating to you. It's also worth noting, there's usually a divide between being a fan of a medium and wanting to work in that medium. That's a thing I find fascinating as well. Like, people who are massive fans of a band, but some of them also play in their own band. Others could not tell you what a G chord is, but they're still fans of like what they're doing. And I find that fascinating as well. So I feel like people with a preoccupation towards, hey, I want to be a storyteller, I want to be a filmmaker, that tends to also make them really get into films. Yeah, I think that's about all the saying about this stuff that I wanted to say. There was something in the middle back there. Oh, seeing it in the theater. That is another thing. Now, I'm not going to promise that if you go to the theater, it's going to make you like movies more. You'll probably like it less, especially if the antsiness and having to sit still for so long is your problem, or being around other people. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're into, but, whatevs. Get out there, get into a theater, because I've noticed this a lot. When people watch things at home, they're casually viewing it. They have their phone out. We're not going to get into that. But like when you're watching at home, it doesn't feel like I'm going to a movie. So it's just kind of like a passive thing to do in the background. And by the way, totally put a movie on in the background if you want. Just don't review it afterwards because you didn't really watch it. But yeah, like I think going to the movies makes it feel more special. It's like, oh, I'm really like making an effort to like, it is time to get entertained versus, there's nothing to do. I guess I'll finally watch Barbie. Like, I just feel like that is a totally different way to watch a movie than, like, say, I don't know, dressing up and going and saying hi to all the other Barbies. Well, that's going to prime you to have a great time at the movies. Even if you end up not liking the movie, you're like, well, something. That sure was something we all did. And maybe that brings me to my wider thing, which is I just do fun stuff, you know? Also, you don't have to like movies. You don't have to like anything. I guess maybe that's my ultimate takeaway is, like, don't force yourself to like anything you don't like. But if you want to get into movies, I'll recommend some. As always, the large drink thing is a scam. You're not gonna, no, just sneak in a Red Bull. Yeah, I said it. Oh my God. Nipples. Okay, well, that was a hoot. That was hilarious. Yeah, I had a brain fart, didn't hear any sound coming out of the thing, and was like, oh fuck, was that the end? Nipples! Which, of course, is a reference to a year ago when I showed Steamboat Willie. I also played the movie, and when it ended, I said nipples. It just got into my head, wouldn't that be funny to have the word I always come back on be nipples? Not anymore, because I fucked up. It's or their butthole now. Oh, I love this stupid show. Good night, everybody. Oh, wait, go to the bonus episode so I can tell you what the fuck Dracula did.